to tell it from the point of view of one of the Massachusetts volunteers who comes back at the end of the war and have a celebration, of the victory, this great victory in which half of Mexico has been taken away by the United States, and they have a victory celebration, and the commander of the Massachusetts Volunteers is being honored up at the podium, and as he gets up to speak, he is booed off the platform by the half of the Massachusetts Volunteers who are still alive and who think about what happened to their comrades in the war and who look around and wonder what they were fighting for. And there's another sort of scene in that story of the Mexican War, as that scene where the American Army has moving to take over the territories seized from Mexico and has moved into this country, into what is now called New Mexico, and moves into Santa Fe and has to suppress a rebellion because these are mostly Mexicans living here, and the United States government is taking it over. And the Army marches through the streets of Santa Fe after their military victory, and all the people in Santa Fe get into their houses and close the shutters, and the Army is met by total silent resistance, which is an expression of how the population feels about this great victory of the American Army. Anyway, I thought it would be useful to look at the Mexican War from a slightly different point of view. And then there's I guess I thought I'd start off with the issue of war today because we are making war right now, and I've thought about the usual immediate. Yes, we support our commander-in-chief and so on, 65%. Of course, I always look at it differently. I say, yes, but 35% don't go along. And since the propaganda machine takes hold of the airwaves, of 98% of the airwaves, to have 35% oppose is a victory and a sign that some people, are thinking. You see. And I think about I think about the war in the about something that another little thing I forgot about the Mexican War, which might make the movie a little more interesting, and that is some of the deserters, and a lot of the people who volunteer in the Mexican War are they volunteer for the same reason that so many poor working-class people volunteer for the military. It's not that they're imbued with the idea of going to war. They're just desperately poor, and they hope that their fortunes will better as a result of the war. And many of these volunteers are recent immigrants, and many of them are Irish immigrants. And a number of these Irish immigrant soldiers, as they watch what is being done to the people of Mexico, desert and go over to the Mexican side. And I don't know how many of you know about it. Maybe in New Mexico people know more about this. In fact, I'm sure people in New Mexico know more about this than people in other parts of the country. But they formed their own battalion fighting with the Mexicans, which they call St. Patrick's Battalion, and which becomes the San Patricio Battalion, and an amazing event in the Mexican War. I was made to think about that, or reminded of that when because I was about to talk about the war in the Philippines, and right after the Spanish-American War, and then our history books.